In today's video, I am going to rank all of Batman animated shows based on their lowest ranked episode. To answer the question, are these episodes a good representative for their cartoons? So here's how it's gonna work. For every episode, I'm gonna give you a quick recap about it, saying my honest opinion, then I will give it a rate from S tier all the way to dog shit. I also have to say that this is my personal opinion and I'm ranking these cartoons from their worst episodes, so please don't fucking murder me in the comments. And without wasting any more time, let's get into it. The cartoon number 1 is going to be the GOAT Batman the Animated Series, and I'm gonna rank it based on an episode called I've Got Batman in My Basement that sits on 6.5 out of 10 according to IMDb. The episode begins with two thieves stealing what it looked like a very expensive egg from a museum. While they're escaping, Batman shows up to save the day like usual, but this time he gets attacked by a giant vulture, which helps the thieves to escape. Meanwhile, two kids are playing in their front yard when they seize the giant vulture. Out of curiosity, they follow it to an abandoned factory. Then we find out that the penguin was behind the robbery of the egg and the giant vulture is his new pet. At this time, Batman shows up for the second time, and after a long fight with the penguin and his team, the fight ends with Batman getting poisoned by the penguin and he passes out. After that, the two kids took Batman to their basement because this dude thinks that he's an investigator. Then the penguin finds the location of the house and attacks them to take his egg bag and kill Batman. The two kids resist the penguin pretty well in a Home Alone style using Batman utility belt, but of course they couldn't hold for so long because at the end of the day they were fighting a Batman villain. When the penguin finally gets his egg bag and he's about to send Batman to heaven, Batman eventually wakes up, beat the hell out of Penguin and his team, and finally the day was saved by Batman. I didn't actually enjoy the episode. The fact that this is part of the greatest cartoon ever made make me not a big fan of it. Batman was barely there in the episode and the whole focus was on the two kids. At some point this episode was looked like a cartoon version of Home Alone. Don't misunderstand me, I love Home Alone, but this is a Batman show, so I'm gonna give this a B tier. Okay, just for the legacy of the show, I'll put it in A. I love Batman the Animated Show, it's my favorite cartoon growing up, and he is the main reason why I became Batman's biggest fan, but this episode is just a big flop in my opinion. The cartoon number 2 is going to be the new Batman adventure, and I'm gonna rate it based on an episode titled Critters that sits at 5.7 out of 10 according to IMDb. The episode begins with a farmer named Farmer Brown and his hot daughter pressing Gotham with their latest mutant giant cow at a conference. The cow suddenly goes crazy, breaks out its cage, and almost kills everybody there. Thankfully, Bruce Wayne is one of the guests and managed to calm down the cow. After that, the farmer gets banned from Gotham for his illegal genetic experiments. A year later, we see Bruce Wayne on a date with Karen when the whole city gets attacked by giant bugs. Thankfully, Batman shows up and starts to fight the giant mutants with the help of Robin and Batgirl. Then we see the crazy farmer chilling in his chair, crafting a wooden cow with two heads. Then we see Batman talking with Gordon about the suspects when a goat appears out of nowhere and starts talking. I wonder what these people was consuming while they was creating this episode.
No Batman!
The code says that the farmer wanted $50 million or he will take over the city with his giant mutants. They sent him a truck full of money, but the farmer finds out that it's fake. Eventually, Batman, Robin, and Batgirl shows up, fights the farmer, and the whole thing ends with Batman captured the crazy farmer. I think this whole episode was a mess. The farmer's motivation to be this evil was very weak. The concept of the giant animals and insects wasn't bad actually, but at some points they made it super overpowered and at other points they make it so weak. Now I understand why this is one of the lowest rated episodes in the entire Batman cartoons. My rate to this is going to be, of course, dog shit, but don't worry, the next one is going to be a banger. The cartoon number 3 is going to be Batman Beyond, and I'm gonna rate it based on an episode called Centuries of the Lost Cosmos that sits at 6.4 out of 10 according to IMDb. The episode begins with the 3 soldiers in the space fighting a spaceship, and one of them shows a very heroic action by attacking the spaceship and slammed it into 2 pieces. Then it turns out that this is only a VR game called Centuries of the Lost Cosmos, and the hero that shows crazy performance fighting this spaceship is nothing but a nerd dude who gets bullied in real life. Classic. Later on this episode, this kid got an invitation from the creator of the game who called himself the Wise One because he is one of the best players in the game. And when he goes to the creator's place, he finds out that the Wise One invites all the good players of his game to create a real life army with them. Then he started to send them to missions. One of these missions was to destroy a database center or something like that, when finally Batman Beyond appears to stop them from destroying the server. Unfortunately, he couldn't do it because his friend, who used to be a normal kid who gets bullied from others, suddenly became the character that he used to play with. Then Beyond was investigate about the topic, of course with the help of the GOAT himself, Bruce Wayne, and he finds out that the creator of the game is actually not the Wise One, and he was only the producer of the game. And when the game became massive, he took all the glory for himself, not mentioning the actual creator of the game. Beyond proves this to the soldiers and he makes them turn on the Wise One. Then, after a very short fight with the Wise One, Beyond managed to defeat the Wise One and give back the actual creator of the game his glory back. Although the story might sound failure, I do enjoy the episode. I regret not watching this show before. I wasn't a big fan of Batman Beyond and I thought that all the hype about it was just a BS, but after watching this episode I actually get why people loves it so much. Plus, like, this is like the worst episode in the show, so I'm so excited to see what this show have to offer me next. My rating for Batman Beyond is going to be A tier. The cartoon number 4 is going to be the Batman 2004, and I'm gonna rate it based on an episode titled The Q&A that sits on 6.7 out of 10 according to IMDb. The episode begins with 2 kidnapping incidents happen to a famous TV presenter and a pianist. Batman finds out that the criminal might be responsible for these incidents is a guy who used to be a genius kid who was appearing in a Q&A TV show back in the days, and he got cheated on by these 2 people by giving his opponent an easy question and make her wins the show. And according to Batman's investigations, there is another person who might be the next victim of the kidnapper, and she is the girl who makes him lose in the show. Batman suits up and gets ready to save the girl, which becomes a woman now, but unfortunately, like usual, he couldn't save her. We sees then the kidnapper, or like he called himself, the Clue Master, did a remake for the show in his basement and make the victims ask him questions and tells them if he loses he will let them go, but if he wins he will put them in a pool full of acid. Like usual, Batman shows up in the last second and the Clue Master gives Batman a bonus question and a chance to save the victims. And Batman simply says this: "Name me the true identity of the Batman." The Clue Master gets crazy because obviously he didn't know the identity of the Batman, and he presses the button that made the platform goes down. Batman quickly stops the platform from falling down, take care of the Clue Master. I do actually like this episode. It was super light and quick. I didn't even notice that the episode ended until it did. I love Batman's suit in this show. I still believe that this is the second best suit ever in Batman cartoons, just after the original Batman animated series suit. I also loved how Batman not being overpowered, because for those who are not familiar with this show, Bruce Wayne here is like, he's like still in his first years as Batman. My rating to the Batman 2004 based on this episode is going to be an A tier. I had so much fun watching it. Hello, it's Wake from the future. From the editing session, I accidentally deleted the voiceover of Batman the Brave and Bold. Anyway, I'm gonna put this in dog shit because the episode was a total mess, total garbage. I didn't like it. It was like 4 different stories, 4 different people. You know, Batman was just like a secondary option. And overall, like, I watched that cartoon so many times when I was a kid, and I've never been a fan of. So yeah, enjoy the rest of the episode, and see you. The cartoon number 6 is going to be Beware the Batman, and I'm gonna rate it based on an episode named Hunted that sits on 6.9 out of 10 according to IMDb. At the beginning of the episode, we seen a bank robbery when Batman shows up and started farming. He started scaring the robberies and playing around with them before he captured them. In the same night, somewhere else in Gotham City, we seeing a chasing scene for this rich man by Mr. Toad and Professor Pig. In the morning, we see Bruce Wayne sleeping when he he got attacked by this masked man, and that turns out to be a friend of Batman helping him with his morning routine. Wait, is that Alfred? Why does he look like Jason Statham here? This is probably the most badass Alfred I've ever seen. Anyway, then they start talking, and Alfred starts to necking on Bruce Wayne, saying that he stops his attack in 5 moves while he's supposed to do it in 3 moves only, and Bruce Wayne tells him that his mission is to keep Bruce Wayne safe, not Batman. Then Alfred shows Bruce the kidnapping incident that happened last night and tells him that he might be the next target. Bruce and Alfred goes to the Batcave, and after a long investigations, they found out that fortunately Bruce Wayne is not the next target, but unfortunately there is someone else who's gonna be the next victim. Bruce Wayne suits up as Batman and started to run to the Batmobile to go to save the next victim. Oh my god, this episode is only about aura farming, bro. After that, we sees that Mr. Toad and Professor Pig is already chasing the next rich man when Batman shows up to save him, but he couldn't. Very typical. And on the top of that, they also managed to kidnap Alfred as well. But Batman follows the evidence and finds the kidnappers, beat the 2 freaks, and save Alfred and the others. Oh my god, I'm in love with this episode. There's action like Batman always there, a badass bald Alfred. This episode let me feel the same feeling that I felt before when I was a young kid watching Batman cartoons. During the episode, there is always things happened, whether a good dialogue or action. I have a lot to say about this episode. The fightings are so good. The presentation of the Batman in the beginning of the episode is so old school and I adore it. The voice actors have done a crazy performance as well. Overall, this might be the best thing I've ever watched about Batman for a very long time. And of course, this episode deserves an S tier, like low-key. The last cartoon is going to be Batman Caped Crusader, and I'm gonna rank it based on an episode called Entier Waters that sits at 7.0 out of 10 according to IMDb. The episode began with this man being interrogated by this heavy-sounded black dude. Then we see mob members trying to move boxes from a warehouse, and eventually the lights goes off and the Batman appears and starts to knock out the hell out of the mob, and after finishing the last mob member, we hear the missile sound and boom, it hits directly the warehouse, turning it into small pieces. Then after this masterpiece of an intro, we see Batman and Alfred, who looked so chopped on the contrary of the previous cartoon, and they were discussing the group of bombing incidents that happened recently in Gotham. And Batman thinks that there is someone in the police headquarters trying to cover the explosions and bombing incidents. After that, Batman went to investigate more about who might be the police who involved in these incidents. Then we see the drunk guy going out of the bar when Batman asked him about who's behind the explosions and the bombing, and he tells him that the Penguin is behind it. Then we see that the Penguin is going to music performance. Wait, what? She's a woman? I mean, like, I don't know what to say, but anyway, let's just move on. Then we see Bruce Wayne pulls up to the party, and like usual, he gets all the attention. Then he sneaks into what it's called the basement of the boat, I don't know. After that, he heard noise coming, and she was the Penguin and her mob, and she was thinking that one of her children is snitching on her to the other mob. One of her kids tell her that the other one is the snitcher, so she took him, put him into a box, and throw him in the sea. What the actual Then her other kid feels guilty because it turns out that he is the actual snitch, and he goes to Barbara Gordon and tells her that he needs to see her father because he is the only legit cop in the city who tells him about his mother's crimes. Then they started to get chased by the mob of the Penguin until Batman shows up and saves them. Then the big umbrella on the top of her boat transformed into a huge gun, and she was gonna freaking blow the entire police department. Holy. Then when she's about to pull up the trigger, Batman shows up. He started fighting with her bodyguard. Then finally Batman throw him in the water and stop the Penguin from pulling the trigger. Then they fighting, but the Penguin used her umbrella to pull the trigger. Thankfully, all of the people in the police department make it out. Finally, Batman managed to capture the Penguin and disappear. I love this show. I loved it. My first time watching it, and it was the first episode of it. That's might be the best first episode of all times. The action, the detective side of Batman, the characters, even though they are different from what we know from the previous Batman cartoon. cartoons in the entire Batman universe, but they are great. The Penguin, I love it. Of course, I will give it an S tier. And now, after ranking all of Batman cartoons based on their lowest rated episode, it's time to answer the question that says, are the lowest rated episode for a show is a good representative for the entire project? Well, the answer is sometimes yes, sometimes no. Some of these episodes are so bad to a point where you assume that the entire show are trash, but they are actually part of the greatest shows of all times, like the episode from Batman the Animated Series. And some of these are actually low-key super good to a point where you wanted to watch the entire thing, like the episode from Batman Caped Crusader and the episode from Beware the Batman. Anyway, if you made it here, I want to say thank you. See you in the next video, and peace!